But there's three here, and then a copy and there. Oh my God.
She can fall and just like that. It's like it just, everything goes away. And so other times she can just take off and she's okay.
He specialized in navigator tubs. Yeah. To zero entry, like a creates like a little like a door.
Yeah.
And then that's not cheaper than that full backside model.
Well, that house is pretty old, so what I think from what they said, their youngest son is going to sell their house and then come in and redo this house so that they can stay there completely. Because they have one bedroom downstairs and then they have like 4 bedrooms upstairs. But my uncle built it years and years ago, so it's really not up to today.
Do you want to modify the house? He's not going to be here, but the tourist is typically the snack sponsor. And he is a company called Accessibility Mobility. They specialize in, like modifying home for homeowners to stay, like elevators and handles and
stair lifts.
Yeah, things like that. So definitely, I can send you the info.
Okay.
If your the nephew gonna be
Her son.
yeah, so he's gonna be selling the house. I'm a realtor, and then I focus on seniors and caregiving families with their real estate needs. So I'd be happy to help you with that. Maybe like a home valuation, or maybe more
We were just telling her, he's the one that cuts out the tub.
But so Tim is the handyman who doesn't cut the tub.
I was going to mention the other thing too is, in my opinion, does she have therapy in mind?
I don't think
Because if she has physical therapy occupational therapy, I can teach you guys how to properly use it. And that's stuff that we take up. I was also in a registry for caregivers. I'm going to teach you how to properly use
Okay.
do some of those things that it's really, it's scary when you don't know how. But if you're trained and you can watch somebody how to do it, then that gives you the confidence to do it yourself.
Exactly, and that's what you were. That's exactly it. Because one day I was there, and I was coming upstairs, and then I have like a regular steps down. Well, I had waited to get her walker, and she decided she was going to do it without the walker, and starts walking to go up the stairs, and I see her, like going backwards, and I'm like, she's falling, catch her, because there's no way I can get her. Well, her other granddaughter was standing behind her, so when she fell, she just kind of fell into
In her case, they fall back.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, absolutely. They fall back.
But he's also
And I have a movement disorder, actually. I've got deep brain stimulation, so I get a lot of clients that have Parkinson's. Check out Huntington's provides different types of movement disorders. But yeah, Parkinson's, they fall back. The other thing too is these cognitive that they tend to actually does get Parkinson's dementia, they get very impulsive. So it's like she's gonna do what she wants to do.
I mean, I don't think she has dementia, but she's up to.
Parkinson's dementia is a little bit different.
Is it?
It doesn't really affect her memory so much.
Okay.
But it affects judgment, it affects thinking, it affects the processing. They get very but it's not like Alzheimer's where they forget.
You guys were in that.
It's different. Sometimes they'll hallucinate.
She does that.
Yep, and they don't sleep well.
And so how would I find out?
Oh,
So you can give me a call, I'm also
Okay. Oh, okay.
I'll explain why. She's a good person to know the why. Has so many different very different than.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I noticed too, she always had her head down. And then when she's talking, she talks very low.
And
So I've got to sit.
their vocal cords,
Yeah.
they use that ability to project their voice.
And so, well, and part of it too is she would raise her head, that would help. So I usually have to kind of sit like almost right beside her in order to say, I hear what she's saying. And so then she's a little bit louder.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at, is just trying to find out what I can do to help her family or help her. You know what I'm saying?
So you definitely need to schedule one-on-one with Kimberly to figure out your situation.
Yeah.
But it is a great presentation today.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really relevant to you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
How are you?
Do we all want to go up to you or is
Got up from
Good for you. Yes.
Here's my information.
Oh,
And
okay.
my numbers on the box.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
You made it. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
All right.
and then, so I have a.
Hello, everyone.
Hello everyone, welcome to our April series of our Transition Living Network's speaker series. I have Renata Anderson.
Hi, Renata Anderson, Fairway Independent Mortgage. I'm a reverse mortgage specialist and I'll be speaking next month, so I'd love to see you there.
Sherry Creed.
Hi, I'm Sherry Creed, a Ascendant Real Estate. I focus on serving seniors and caregiving families with their real estate needs.
Hi, I'm Cara Riley with Brokers Guild, and I'm a real estate shepherd, so I can help you through your real estate transitions, whether they're staying at home or moving somewhere else.
I'm Kelsey Mackey with Kelbag & Associates. I'm a Medicare consultant. I can help navigate the different choices of Medicare all throughout the year, and then obviously open enrollment. We have our food sponsor today. It's me. Elizabeth Austin with Savvy Resources. Thank you so much. Would you like to come say a word?
I would. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Let's make sure, is she in the frame there? John, is she in the frame? Okay.
All right. Gotta have fun, right?
Yeah.
So my name is Liz Austin, and I have a little company called Savvy Resources. I'm a professional organizer / move manager. I didn't know I was going to be a move manager, but everybody needs to move at some point. I help people to declutter, downsize, organize, and move their stuff. I have a team. I'm insured, and I'm based here in Westminster, so local and easy to get to. My clients, most of them are moving. Some of them have already moved. Some of them are just disorganized, and that's okay. Some people are moving and disorganized, and that's kind of my favorite, actually. I help people to get rid of things they really don't need. Everybody's got a basement full of things. They're like, oh, I don't even know what's down there. Get rid of things you don't need, pack, coordinate the actual move, and unpack on the other end and get you organized in the new space. I have high ick tolerance. Do you know what ick tolerance is? When there are bodily fluids, maybe there are cats or dogs or rodents, no problem. Spiders, there were spiders in the basement that time, it was fun. I have a background in sales training and sales, and so that kind of helps me with the psychological piece. A lot of people really have trouble letting go of things. You know, they've had these things for years and years, and I like to empower them to make their own decisions. I ask them the questions to lead them to their own answers instead of saying, you need to do this. I don't like the you need to do this attitude. I called my company Savvy Resources because I like to pull in lots of other people when needed. I have gotten rid of a gun safe, a grand piano. There's always a need for a handyman. You get the idea. It's not just me, there are a lot of other people. So 2 things when you're decluttering that are really difficult. Number 1 is starting. Number 2 is continuing. And if you really can't, I can. My name's Liz, Savvy Resources. Thanks for hearing me.
I just want to give Liz a plug too. She's currently working with 2 of my clients that I'm moving from into communities, and she's been great.
Thank
and
you.
Yeah, no, she's been absolutely fabulous.
They're easy moves.
Yes, yes.
Our featured speaker today is Kimberly Diaz, is a registered nurse with over 26 years of experience and a fierce passion for supporting families through the complexities of aging and dementia. She is the founder of Caring Minds Dementia Consulting Training, Care Matters Always, and Care Matters Registry. As a dementia consultant, care navigator, and trauma-informed clinician, Kimberly empowers caregivers with the tools, the knowledge, and compassion needed to thrive, not just survive, in their caregiving journey. Inspired by the love and strength of her own grandparents, Kimberly has dedicated her life to being a voice for those who can no longer speak their truth. She brings clinical expertise, deep empathy, and real-world strategies to every conversation. Today she'll guide us in exploring what it truly means to care for the caregiver with heart, with hope, and with purpose.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So this is basically caring for the caregiver. How many of you here are caregivers currently?
Kind of.
What's one word that you would use to describe that journey?
Frustrating.
Okay.
Overwhelming at times.
Tired. A weight. A weight. Okay. All right. Those are pretty good. All right. So let's see what we can do.
I'll just push the button.
So, did you realize there are over 53 million family caregivers in the United States? With the economic value of this being $600 billion. And the average family caregiver spends 40.5 hours a week caring for their loved one. So who are caregivers? Family caregivers. So we've got spouses, we have children, we've got cousins, we've got wives. There's also professional caregivers, so home cares, registries. What?
Oh, just get up in the frame, so we have the video of you. Is that right, is she in the frame now?
So professional caregivers, so trained individuals to provide care. They can also, as we were talking earlier, give you some of that training so that you feel more comfortable as a family caregiver providing the care that you're doing for your loved one. There's also friends, neighbors, so community neighbors, church groups, things like that. And the other thing I always talk with the caregivers about, you know that neighbor that keeps asking you how they can help and you keep saying you don't need anything? Delegate, let them run and pick up some groceries for you. Let them run and get that prescription for you. These people want to help, they don't know how to help, and you just keep saying you don't need anything, but you really do. So delegate, and don't feel guilty about it. You need help and that's okay. And then there's some volunteers, people that donate their time to support caregiving efforts. Sometimes you could find them, you know, if they're on hospice has volunteers. Some community resources will have volunteers, but utilize people that are there to help you. All right, so the impact of caregiving, the emotional toll, right? The anxiety, the depression, the overwhelm, the weight that you feel, the physical strain, lack of sleep, exhaustion, not taking care of your own health needs, lack of sleep. Then the alarming statistics, 30% of family caregivers actually die before the person they're taking care of. And in dementia, that is 40%. And this number is going up. So this is a real,
Can you just repeat that again? I don't think I heard it right.
so 30% of family caregivers that are taking care of their loved one actually die before the person they're taking care of. And if it's someone that has dementia, that statistic is 40%, because dementia is 24/7, as you know, Tim, right? Yeah. So signs of caregiving burnout. I love this picture, right? She's all bruised and banged up, but how many of you have felt like that? Whether you physically look like that, I mean, you feel like that. Persistent, fatigue, constantly tired despite getting adequate rest. Increased irritability, short-tempered, overreactions to minor issues. Health changes, weight fluctuations, colds all the time, just not feeling well. And then you've got withdrawal, right? Losing interest in things that you used to enjoy doing. Maybe you used to enjoy going to the gym, going to the movies. Now you don't want to do anything. So these are signs of caregiving burnout. Has anybody experienced anything like that? Yeah? Can you give an example? How did it feel?
I can just be honest, my wife and I got in a big fight yesterday. So,
Because of her burnout, your burnout?
Yeah.
Both?
yeah.
Yeah. And your mom's living with you, right? Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
My mom has dementia and bipolar disorder, and she's a wild card all the time, and it's exhausting.
So what's something that, because I know you and I have talked about this before, what's something that you do if you're feeling overwhelmed by your mom that you think's been helpful for you?
Step away.
Yeah.
Go spend some time without her. But like today, this afternoon, I'm taking her to a museum, so don't call me tonight.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. Anybody else?
It's my father-in-law, he has dementia. And my husband is the POA, but some of the stuff that is needed to be dealt with, there's fraud going on. I'm doing some of the legwork behind the scenes to help with addressing and confronting all of this and helping it to stop. It's a lot of time and energy, and on top of just dealing with dementia, and they're not particularly, they have moved. In this last year, we were already working on unpacking their boxes, but we're dealing with their taxes and trying to find stuff, and they're not particularly organized, and they didn't set up their kids to know where stuff was, to be able to take care of them. I wish they'd done that 10 or 20 years ago. And all this has just opened my eyes to, this is a major problem, and our society needs to help be empowered so that we can help take care of the older generation. Like my generation could be working at doing this stuff on their behalf for their kids now.
Right. And this is probably a good incentive for you to make sure you got your stuff
Yeah,
together,
I've been
right?
trying to work on mine, and then we're dealing with theirs. So it's the struggle of like, I'm pulled. I feel like Elastimop or whatever that character is in The Incredibles.
Anybody else?
Like I was talking to you, my aunt and uncle, my aunt has Parkinson's, so my uncle used to take care of my aunt. Well, he got sick and died.
Okay. So why self-care is essential? Self-care is not selfish. You have to take care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you take care of yourself, you can better take care of your loved one. Okay? I know it's easier said than done, but we'll talk about even just some little things that you can do shortly, several times throughout the day, just to rejuvenate yourself. So improve care quality, makes you a better caregiver, right? Because if you lose your temper with your loved one, you're gonna feel bad about that. You're gonna feel guilty about that. Emotional balance reduces stress and anxiety, your physical health, your energy, your strength. In basic needs, rest, nutrition, activity. Okay, and then down there it just says we can't pour from an empty cup. It's necessary to be an effective caregiver. So the physical self-care strategies, prioritizing sleep. And if, let's say you want 7 hours of sleep a night, you need to plan to be in bed for 8 hours, because it's gonna take some time for you to unwind. I know I start because I can't sleep, so I have to take all these supplements, and I don't eat 3 hours before I go to bed. I stop TV or screen time 2 hours before bed. I take my medications and stacking, and then I have my hot tea. It's like a 10-hour process, and I'm lucky if I get 5 or 6 hours of sleep. But you have to really plan for that. So if you want 7 hours of sleep, plan to be in bed for 8 hours, because that's the reality. And then eat nutritiously. Everyone's concerned about what they're making for their loved one to make sure that they get good food. Well, make sure you're getting that same good food. And sitting down with your loved one for a meal is what people are used to. So spend that time to connect with them around a meal, making it, nutritious, whole foods. The processed stuff, I know that it's easier sometimes, but our bodies don't know what to do with it. And, they're finding that is causing a lot of the diseases that are coming up, including dementia. So trying to, I think of it like the grandparent diet. My grandma, everything was cooked fresh, and, she used bacon grease to cook things in, and, kind of go back to that old, stay away from that processed stuff. And staying active. If that means going for a walk, whatever works for you. I always tell people, whatever you're gonna do, that's the exercise you're gonna do. Because you can have this whole elaborate plan, but if you don't like it, you're not gonna do it. So whatever works for you, if it's taking a 5-minute walk in the morning, if it's when you're on your phone, walking when you're doing that, any type of activity is gonna help with your blood flow, it's gonna help get that oxygen to your brain, and it's gonna release endorphins, and it's going to make you feel good.
Can I ask you a question with that?
Sure.
I have been a pretty regular exerciser, and then as a lot of this stuff has been coming down, I've been feeling like, I can't mentally get up and put the exertion into doing that exercise. And sometimes those forms haven't been always been as helpful for some of the specific things I need to do, so that's part of it. But I found this element of like, this isn't good that I'm not exercising so well for the last couple weeks. But it feels like I've been in the crux of taxes particularly. And so there's an element of going, I just need to sleep and have things more restful, and if I get a walk in the day, that's great, and we'll come through this, and there'll be less going on, and then I can get back to things. But I'm concerned that maybe that kind of thinking is not good, I guess.
So what if you try to kind of reframe it? And I know I have to do this for myself every morning when I get up at 4:30 to do my routine and to exercise, is I get to exercise, and I get to do that for me. And for me, mentally, that's what gets my butt moving.
Sure.
Is because this is the time that I get to spend for me, nobody else.
Okay.
And just trying to kind of reframe that, and whatever, because once you do it, you feel good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you know what that's gonna feel like. So just, I get to do this versus I have to do this or I need to do this. This is what I get to do for me, and I'm important.
Did I hear that you're tired, fatigued? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is there such a thing, I don't know the parameters for it, where you can have respite care come in so she can actually go and have a day to herself?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so mental well-being practices, okay? Morning mindfulness. Start with 5 minutes of deep breathing or meditation. Now, I don't know how everybody feels like that. I started meditating 3 years ago, and it's changed my life. So just having that time of just being with myself and not having the phone and the this and the that, and to just get inside your own head, which is sometimes a crazy place to be. I get that. But even if you can take 5 minutes in deep breathing, reset your parasympathetic nervous system. It is so good, it's so quick, and you can really get from a place of feeling anxious and stressed and really get down. A midday rest, short breaks to clear your mind and refocus. Sometimes that means you're gonna have to maybe slip away to the bathroom just to get a few minutes to take some deep breaths and kind of reset yourself. But you're worth that, you need to do that. Evening reflection. If you enjoy journaling, that's something else that I picked up 3 years ago with my meditating. And it really helps me personally to get, sometimes I write people letters. I don't send them. My husband one time's like, you're not gonna send that. I'm like, no, but I get it out of me. And then it's not in my head anymore. And then I'm not consumed about thinking about it. So if you have frustrations, or it's also really helpful just to, I have several books that I read from different families' experiences with someone with dementia who journaled along the way. And then after that person passes, it's been a great tool to kind of recapture that journey, because you almost forget, because it's so stressful and so impactful, you almost forget it, but you don't want to forget it, you don't want to forget them, and it's a good way to go back. And then a bedtime routine, again, disconnecting from the screens, stop eating, 2 to 3 hours before bed, because you're trying to go to sleep and your body's worrying about digesting instead of, letting you sleep. So whatever works for you, but it really does. I know a lot of people have a morning routine, but having a bedtime routine is very helpful as well, kind of starting your day, ending your day. Here's some breathing exercises. Box breathing is a really easy one. You just inhale for the count of 4, you hold it for 4, and you exhale for 4. Can we try that? Are you guys right? So we're just gonna slowly inhale for the count of 4 in your head. You do that 3 or 4 times, you will quickly reset your parasympathetic nervous system. I recently, in one of the snows here, I was driving down 36, I had my husband's car, 4-wheel drive, and I started spinning. And it's like, fortunately I grew up in Chicago, so I know how to drive in the snow, and people weren't coming right at me, and I was, I was fine when I was spinning, but then once I stopped, I was like, literally, like, I could barely, so I pulled over, I did this 4 times, I was good to go. I just kept telling myself, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. I know some of this stuff seems woo-woo, but it works.
No, that stuff works. I do that with my mom.
Yep, yep.
Let's breathe.
And then the vagus nerve reset. So the vagus nerve goes all the way from your brain to all your organs, and it goes all the way down. So you want to reset that baby. That's going to help to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is just another technique, the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale for 4, hold it for 7, exhale very slowly for 8 seconds. And this is something you can run to the bathroom and do if you need to, right? Just to get away quickly, just breathe and get yourself reset.
Can I make a comment when we were talking about moving and that, and I just had a doctor talk about that moving and your deep breathing, and that's something that breathing, because I'm one that I breathe very shallow.
Yeah.
And talking about the need to periodically through the day take those big deep breaths that you can feel all the way through your body and through your stomach, and between that and the movement, that there's been a lot of ties for dementia, people that don't get out and move.
Exactly.
And it's that blood flow, there's been the whole
somatic
blood flow being so important.
Yep, yep, and these are simple things that you can do. It's just kind of learning them, making yourself a priority and taking time to do this for yourself. All right, so self-care is non-negotiable. I have a video, but we can't get the sound, so we're not gonna do it. But small, consistent acts of self-care create resilience over time. Okay, so whether that's going for a walk, taking your loved one for a walk, if they're able to, take them with you, get outside, get into nature. It's gonna calm you and it's gonna calm them. Looking at the birds, whatever's out there. Having a cup of tea, reading a book, maybe if they're taking a nap. Exercise, movement. And then I'm not sure what the bunny's doing, but I guess dress like a bunny and sit outside.
Maybe you'll have the energy of a bunny.
Yeah, maybe. The energizer say, hop like a bunny. All right, so don't go it alone. Again, don't be a hero, don't do it by yourself, there's no reason to. Find your village. Again, those neighbors, those people, those friends that are asking, what can I do? Let them do something. So community support, churches, senior centers, friends and family, regular check-ins, shared responsibilities. I work with families all the time, and there's always some family member that wants to run the show but doesn't want to do anything. So I sometimes play mediator and help with some of those conflicts. But you know what, everybody needs to step up, and if that means financially for somebody because they don't have the personal time, or whatever that means, everybody needs to step up, and you need to kind of figure out who's going to commit to what, and hold them to it, because you should not be doing this alone. Support groups, you know, that this promotes shared experiences and understanding. We saw there's 53 million family caregivers in the United States. So you can't tell me there's not one person you couldn't share or connect with, right? There's support groups online, you know, Meetup, Facebook. I have a dementia support group that I do the fourth Thursday of every month. Alzheimer's and Parkinson's Foundation have one. There's support groups everywhere.
What does your group meet?
The fourth Thursday of every month on Zoom.
On Zoom?
Yeah, I got the pencil back there.
Yep. Good.
But again, these are people that are going through a similar experience. You can kind of bounce ideas off of, and you know, you'll realize that you're not alone. And that's so important in this journey. Professional guidance, so healthcare providers, social workers, you know, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists. They can be very helpful, especially when it comes to, you know, maybe mobility issues and how to move your loved one and what are different ways to do this or that. So no caregiver should face this journey alone. Support is crucial and necessary. So finding support groups, again, in-persons, hospitals, community centers, churches, online communities, Facebook groups, Meetup has some, AOZ.org, Parkinson's Foundation has some, Lewy Body Dementia, they have some, so there's a lot of them out there. You just have to look, but a Google search, you can find one. And then, you know, try a few out and see which one feels like it fits for you, feels like a good fit. So professional help and respite care. So respite care is time for you to get some relief so you can get away. That's essentially what that means. So in-home care, there's home health. So that's going to be your nurses, your physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, social workers. Now this has to be ordered by a physician, and then this would be covered under Medicare. Okay, but every few months, depending on what's going on with your loved one, you should be able to get an order to do this. Okay, and then there's Medicare Part A, which is for that kind of acute phase, that initial phase. But then there's Medicare Part B, which so many people don't utilize. And this type of therapy covered under Part B is for maintenance. So once you get them to that good place, what happens is they discharge and they go away, and then your loved one slowly starts to decline. Well, if you then put them in therapy under Part B, which again is paid for by Medicare, there's usually sometimes a copay with that, but that's all about maintenance. We got them at this good place, let's keep them there. So I have a client that I've been with for 4 years. He has Parkinson's disease, and we have utilized Part B for the last 4 years. He's always had therapy. He's got to keep moving, or he's not going to be able to. So in that, you know, they do 3-4 months at a time, where they can come out maybe once a week, twice a week. But it's very helpful in maintaining, and it's a coverage that you have that a lot of people don't realize that they have, so it's underutilized. And then home care. So home care is going to be something that you'll have to pay for out of pocket. But this would be caregivers for, you know, maybe companion care, or even for, you know, helping you around the house, helping train you on how to, you know, care for your loved one. There's also palliative care. So palliative care, and then there's hospice care. So hospice care is for end of life, which when people have dementia, once they get to a 7A, they can qualify for hospice. Okay, so hospice provides nursing, pharmacy, chaplain, social worker, CNA, all the products your loved one would need. So incontinence products, chucks, equipment, beds, walkers, bedside commodes, all of that stuff is covered under the Medicare benefit. And
What is 7A? Can you clarify that?
so stage 7 for dementia,
Okay.
okay, and then a 7A. So when they lose their ability to have a lucid conversation, is basically when I think about that. And I did hospice for 16 years, so I'm very familiar with the regs. And it wasn't uncommon for us to have somebody with dementia on hospice for sometimes a year, 2 years, 3 years, because they do this roller coaster, right? And with hospice, you need to be able to document to the decline. Well, 1 month they're having a bladder infection. Now the next month they've got a fall. So you're able to kind of ride that roller coaster. But this gives you some extra eyes and ears on the situation. It gives you some relief of the financial burden sometimes. And then just having, that just comfort of knowing what's going on, and is my loved one getting close to the end, and just having somebody to talk with about that. And then palliative care that's more like symptom management. So with palliative care, you can still have curative treatments, where hospice care, it's all about comfort. So like, let's say you're on dialysis and you're having a hard time. If you went to hospice, you'd have to stop the dialysis. But if you went to palliative care, you could be supported, they could be managing your symptoms, your pain, supporting your family, but you could still have your dialysis. So palliative care, I usually think about as a time when they're kind of keeping an eye on things until someone is ready for hospice. And then a geriatric care manager, that's one of the services that I provide. So professional helps navigate caregiving challenges and resources. Okay, so kind of your person that, what do I need next? Where do we go from here? Adult day programs. There's half-day programs around where you can drop off your loved one. There's full-day programs around where you can drop off your loved one. There's even a couple of them that are just drop-ins. Maybe, Tuesday morning, oh shoot, I've got an appointment, that you could just go and drop your loved one off. So there are programs out there. I've seen them, like a full day be about $150 a day for a full 6-8 hours. They're giving them medications, they're giving them lunch, they're keeping them, active throughout the day. So depending on what you need to do and what your finances are, this could be a good break for you once a week. And then respite stays. So there are assisted livings, memory cares, and even nursing homes that will take your loved one for a period of time if you need to go somewhere. Maybe you just need a weekend off, you don't have to leave, or you're going on a trip. You can use a respite stay. I'd say on average it's about $300 a day, but they provide all the care, all the medications, everything that your loved one would need. And sometimes that's a good way to start if you're thinking of moving your loved one into a community. Sometimes a respite stay is a good time to kind of trial it for a week or two, see how they do, and it's a good way to go, okay, we didn't like this, but we like this, so that when you are looking for that community, you know what to look for. So it gives you a little taste. And then just quickly, the Medicare and Medicaid. So Medicare, a federal program, primarily for those 65 plus, unless they have disability, that they can be under 65. There's parts A, B, we have our Advantage plans, and then parts D. And then there's Medicaid. So Medicaid is the joint federal and state program that's run by the state for low-income individuals, okay? However, Medicaid will pay for room and board. So they will pay for some assisted livings, they will pay for some nursing homes, where Medicare does not. And oftentimes people get confused with that. Okay, they pay for other things as well. But here it says wider range of long-term care services than Medicare. Dual eligibility, so there are people that can get Medicare and Medicaid, which is a pretty sweet spot if you're able to get that. And there are Medicaid planners out there, there are attorneys that do Medicaid planning, but there's other folks that are just do Medicaid, so they can help you figure out how to protect your assets and still be able to qualify for Medicaid. And you always have to keep in mind that there's a 5-year look back. So if you're gonna do anything to try to prepare, you need to do that 5 years before your loved one's going to need that. And there's veteran benefits. So was your loved one a veteran, or was their spouse? If so, there might be some benefits out there that, because they're not gonna come knocking on your door and say, hey, you've got some benefits, Judy. You need to do the work, and you need to let them know and find out what you might or might not be eligible for. There's aid and attendance, which is financial assistance, so this can help pay for your nursing home, your in-home care, different things that you need. And there's information for that on www.va.org, if that's something you're interested in looking at.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is that hard to qualify for? And the reason I ask is my father-in-law is a veteran, but he's not signed up for that program. I've known it's out there, but I didn't know what we needed to do to help him.
So did he serve during active wartime?
Gosh, was it the Vietnam War, I think? Yes.
Okay, because they only have to be 1 day in active wartime. I have a contact I will give you. Her name is Sandy Morris. Give her a call, and he very well may. I mean, if he did, then yeah, he should have benefits.
Can I throw out something?
Sure.
If you find a form that says DD, the letter D is in dog, DD 214, never throw any of them away, because every time they're activated, they get a new one at the end of that activation period. So especially if they're in the reserve, they're gonna have multiples of these. But even if they were active duty, every time they deploy to a war zone, they'll receive another one that makes it look like their term of service, hey Tim, like makes it look like their term of service ended, even though it didn't end. Save all of those, because very frequently the military does not transfer everything from the last one to the next one. And some of the information on prior ones may be exactly what they need to prove their VA eligibility.
Right.
And it doesn't get included on the very final one. So never throw those forms away.
Yeah, so the D, as you're looking through the paperwork, DD 214, that would show that he was honorably discharged. And that would be one of, you'd think the VA'd have records, no, Didn't one of their warehouses set on fire or something? Yeah, so, you know, it's not like there's a record.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, so legal planning, right? Having your power of attorney, knowing who your financial and medical decision makers are going to be. And if it's you, knowing what that means for you. Advanced directives, so this is gonna outline your healthcare preferences. And when you're picking somebody to be this person, make sure that they're going to be able to withhold your wishes. My mother, I would never choose her because she'd have me on a ventilator for the rest of my life, because to her that's living. So make sure you know the person that you're picking, if they're gonna be able to uphold your wishes. Estate planning, so ensure your assets are managed properly. So this is when you're gonna wanna reach out to estate planners. And then dementia-specific clauses. There are special provisions for cognitive decline, especially when it comes to feeding at the end of life. If somebody doesn't want to be force-fed, there are documents that they can sign ahead of time that states that. And that can get, you know, a little bit challenging, but, you know, medical aid in dying, someone with dementia cannot qualify for because they're not cognitively intact to do so. However, there is the voluntarily stopping and eating and drinking clause that sometimes you can get around. So really just understanding what you want or what your loved one wants. Different health monitoring technologies. So there's smart skills that can help. Now with dementia, sometimes you can't get your loved one qualified for hospice, but if they've had weight loss of 10% in the last 6 months, you might be able to get them on for protein, calorie, malnutrition. So having a record of these things can be very helpful. Also, if they're in and out of the hospital with UTIs, falls, things like that, so they're spending a lot of time in the healthcare system, that can also help to get them qualified. You know, blood pressure monitoring, there's different tracking systems that will, you know, kind of track the trends, and this can be helpful, because again, when you go to your doctor's office, they're really just getting a snapshot in time. So any subjective data that you can bring them is going to be helpful for them, whether that's making a diagnosis or, you know, helping you figure out what the next best steps are. And then medication management. I just brought this. This is one that I use for my clients sometimes, that I get on Amazon. And this, you know, once the regular pill box doesn't work anymore and they kind of need an alarm, this is like $70. It's a pretty good one, and it's, you know, you can fill it up depending how many pills they take, up to 4 weeks in the different times, and it will alarm until they dump the pills out. And this isn't as sophisticated. Some of the ones will actually call your loved one and let them know that you didn't take the medication. And so, I mean, there's different ways of doing that, but what happens, especially with dementia, is, or just as we age, one system works for a little while and then it stops working, so now you need to, you know, have plan B and plan C.
I bought something similar to that for my mom, and I pay a caregiver to go to her apartment and make sure she actually takes the pill and text me and tell me if she took it or not.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
In setting these up, I've set these up for families and stuff too, just it's kind of complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it just makes things easier. Yeah. And then they can't get pills out that aren't, you know, for that day or time. So that's helpful.
What is the brand on that?
This one is Live Fine.
Oh, Live Fine.
Yeah, yeah. I got an affiliate program. I keep needing to put all my products in here on Amazon, because all these things that I use, I just want people to know that, you know, these ones work. And then there's pill packs. Amazon does pill packs. There's different companies that do pill packs, so they'll put all the pills that you need for 7 a.m. in different 7 a.m. packs, and then your 2 p.m. packs, your midnight, you know, whatever you have, so that you have the packs, so that can be helpful for people too. It just really depends on, you know your loved one best, you know what works for you, but there's a lot of different systems out there. And then this is a couple other ones, MedMinder. Again, this is electronic dispenser. It alerts a user and notifies caregivers if doses are missed. Okay, so these would need to be connected to a Wi-Fi, where that's just, I think, a couple of AA batteries. And then there's a Hero machine. This is an automated dispenser that, you know, puts them in, spits them out into a cup, and then they take them. This is a little bit more sophisticated, but you can put, I think, up to 2 months worth of medication in there. So that's a pretty good system as well. So these ensure that you're getting the right dose at the right time, reducing medication errors, because medication errors are the third leading cause of death. So it's a big deal. Either undertaking, overtaking, so.
What is the common reasons why families get more involved, and at what point you get more involved with the medication? My mother-in-law is there, and she said that things are going fine with meds, but my husband and I have not overseen that or checked to really delve into if it's going all right. We're just trusting her word. Behavior-wise, my father-in-law's doing all right. He has had a few more falls recently, but I don't know that that's related with medications necessarily.
Does she have a system that she has set up? Does she use pill boxes, or?
I don't know. I just have seen lots of pills on a certain counter.
Yeah, so I would get maybe a little curious with her about what she's doing, and even maybe just suggest a pill box system, because then that's something that when you guys are there, you could kind of see
how they do it,
and if they're being taken or not.
Okay.
Because what does fine mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure she has, you know, the right intentions, but is it something that she's able to manage? And what if he says no? What does she do then? You know, depending on the medical.
And how, if something happened to her, how would you know what you
Exactly.
need to do?
Exactly.
So other communication devices, there's the gram pad. This is like a tablet that they can just press like a face, and this will call their daughter or whomever that is to make it really easy to communicate and connect. Alexa Together, that's an Amazon service that connects caregivers with loved ones using Alexa devices. I know Amazon also has like a whole fall prevention program and stuff now, out like a life alert type of thing as well. They could, so they could yell out to Alexa to call for help, things like that. The Echo Show provides video calling features. Some of these devices they can do the blood pressure, they can do the medications, they can do all sorts of things, so your loved one that's maybe not even in state can have that communication and know what's going on. There's environmental monitoring, so there's smart smoke detectors. Nest has one, sends alerts to your phone for smoke or carbon monoxide. There's water leak sensors by Smart Things. It's a sensor that detects leaks before they cause damage. I think every house should have that, right? There's door monitors, so it tracks when the doors are open and closed. This is so that if your loved one starts wandering, that you're gonna know about it. You can also put some of these on like cabinet doors and stuff, and this will help to kind of know your loved one's routine. Or if, maybe the medications are in a cabinet so that you know if that cabinet's been opened, that they've gotten their medications. There's also some AI devices that will get to know your loved one's routine, like when they get up, when they go to the bathroom, things like that, so that if that's off, they can alert you, so that maybe your loved one is on the floor or something because they haven't gotten up. So there's all sorts of different sophisticated things out there. There's also temperature sensors. So ensures that the home remains at a safe, comfortable temperature. Safe, comfortable 85. And then managing caregiver guilt. So many of us feel like we're not doing enough, or, what else should we or could we be doing? The biggest thing is you're doing the best you can, so is your loved one. And really taking care of yourself is essential. That's gonna make you the best caregiver that you can be. Setting healthy boundaries. Recognizing your limits. Be honest about what you can really, realistically handle. You've already got your own family, your own stuff. And the next thing is, no is a complete sentence. If you can't do it, say no. I just can't. Somebody else will step up if they have to. But if you keep doing it all, they're gonna let you do it all. Delegate tasks. So again, that neighbor that keeps asking how they can help. Order some groceries, let them run and pick it up for you. Let them pick up something at the pharmacy for you. So identify specific ways that others can help and ask directly. There's even, laundry pickup services. So you could put your loved one's laundry out on a Tuesday or something, they bring it back on Thursday. Just those things that are just time consuming and overwhelming and you just don't have time for it. Delegate. Schedule personal time. Block off non-negotiable time for yourself each week. Someone else is gonna have to step in because I'm not gonna be here Thursday. We'll have to figure it out. Overcoming caregiver guilt. So shift your perspective, remind yourself that you're doing the best you can in a challenging situation. Realistic expectations. Acknowledge that perfection is impossible in caregiving. It's impossible, period. But, stop beating yourself up. Prioritizing self-care. Understand that caring for yourself allows you to be a better caregiver for your loved one. And practice self-compassion. Replace self-criticism with kindness and recognition of your efforts. Again, I get to do this versus I have to do this, especially when it comes to stuff for yourself. So final thoughts. So take things one day at a time, one step at a time. If you're feeling overwhelmed or if your loved one's triggering you, take a minute and look at yourself, what's going on with me? Because likely you've got something else going on and that's why you're being triggered. Maybe that's when you have to step away or go to the bathroom and practice some deep breathing for 5 minutes, just to get yourself recentered. Strength in seeking help. Reaching out for support shows wisdom, not weakness. You are not alone. As we saw, there's 53 million family caregivers in the United States that are going through similar experiences and challenges. So connect with them, talk with them, brainstorm, figure things out, and your efforts matter. So the care you provide makes a profound difference for your loved one. And then that's just how to reach me. I have some information back there, but any questions? Comments?
What supplements would you recommend for people to help, maybe, to support dementia or avoid dementia? What would you?
Supplements is tough. What are the first things you want to do? Even before a dementia diagnosis is made, you want to make sure that their vitamin levels are being checked, their thyroid levels are being checked, making sure those are all, good before a dementia diagnosis. Because oftentimes if your vitamins and minerals are off, you can get wacky. If your sodium's off, if they have a UTI, if they start really acting obnoxious out of the blue, a lot of times it's either a sodium problem or a bladder infection. So I have a client, and the assisted living had told me that she was cussing them out. And I said, that's not normally, now if that was normally her personality, well, it would be, but it wasn't. So I said, I'm gonna get a urine sample. Sure enough, she had a UTI. Why they waited 2 weeks to tell me that she was cussing them out, I don't know, because meanwhile she suffered for 2 weeks because they didn't have common sense. But, you know your person better, so if they're not acting right, something's going on. So you have to get curious, you've got to be an investigator and check it out. Trust your gut. I mean, you know your loved one best.
A simple, probably silly question. Why would a elderly all of a sudden does not want to take shower often? I noticed my mother-in-law passed away. She had dementia. We never realized that. So very late. She just only showers once a week, and we don't have the guts to tell her to have a shower. And we did not know. And then she had a kind of a tragic passing away with it. So we just don't know why.
Yeah, so in dementia, it's very common. It can be for a variety of things. A lot of times it gets overwhelming. There are so many. I've got a client who has Lewy body dementia, and she knew that showering was becoming difficult for her. So she actually wrote out all the steps to shower, and she has it up in her shower. There's 17 steps. So they lose the ability to sequence things, okay? So that makes it difficult. Is the bathroom too cold? So one of the things you always want to do before you get somebody in the shower, warm that bathroom up. If you have a heat lamp, use that. Run the shower before so it's nice and warm in there. So make the environment, something that they're going to enjoy. And then, some people, they get startled when that water comes on them. So it's really, you've got to figure out, or some people don't like disrobing. I've had patients tell me that, the CNAs just come in and rip their clothes off. Well, obviously, that's not what they're doing, but they're not communicating with them well. So that's what they're feeling like, is somebody is just coming in and ripping their clothes off. So there are different wraps and stuff that you can buy that are made out of like terry cloth, and some of my clients wear them, and that's what we shower with. So what? They keep it on and it gets wet. Doesn't matter, but that makes them comfortable to take a shower in that. Having a chair someplace safe. Also making sure that the ground isn't slippery. There's different strips that you can put down to help with that. Tim helps with cut out for tubs so they don't have to make that big step over into. So there's a lot of different reasons, but I would just think that it's overwhelming for them for some reason. So what are things that you can do to take away some of that overwhelm? And if they're showering once a week, I think that's okay. it's, you know, if there's incontinence, if there's, but, you know, it's just think about what can you do to take away some of that overwhelm.
I think for her it's more mental.
I think there's
She already passed away, but I think for her it's probably more mental. As we know, because we don't live together.
Yeah.
She's basically stay. But thank you so much. That's really
Sure,
helpful.
sure.
My parents do all of them.
First, I'd like to mention to Heather, and I'm sure there are other parents who've served in Vietnam. I just want to thank you for their service. I'm from Vietnam, and so I realized, and actually the end of this month is 50 years since the end of the war. Yeah, it's a huge anniversary, but also, if you could let them know that there's no guilt, right? People from Vietnam are grateful for their service, and they're our heroes. And so I just want to make sure that you understand that, and you can tell them that. Thank you. So I wanted to ask, kind of a statement and to ask, right? So we have 3 Asians here. I don't know where you're from.
China.
Oh, okay. As Asians, if you don't take care of your parents, it's a dishonorable thing, right? So that's a whole nother world that we don't know what to do with, and we can't find as much help. But like you said, there's many people suffering with that, but we're suffering alone, right? And then to make things worse, my wife is not Vietnamese; she's white. So, and technically, I'm a white guy in an Asian body. I can speak and I can understand, but I can't communicate well with my mom. And so that is it's sort of like you get dropped in a whole foreign country and you can't survive, right? And you can't just go ask somebody, and that's how I feel like, right? Even though my wife is the main caretaker, but now it spreads it affects every aspect of our lives, you know, so it's not, I mean, I appreciate all the information you have, and I know you understand, but I just feel like it's just a drop in the bucket of how to survive. We are drowning. I mean, Heather comes over, right, and yet I feel like it isn't just, here, do this, right, or self-care. We know all that, right, but we still don't, yeah, so.
So do you need more help in the
And
house?
then even that, right, like the Medicare help, it's coming up a year, and we still have not gotten.
Medicaid?
No, IHSS,
Oh,
right?
Medicaid,
Whatever that is,
Yeah.
we keep getting tossed around, or people don't call us back, right? Or they say, well, you filled out the wrong paperwork. Or the caseworker quits, right? Or whatever, and so it just.
What county do you live in? It might not be on this.
In Arvada, in Jefferson County?
Okay, I'll give you my card.
Yeah. Right, so, but that's what I'm saying is like, it's hard enough just to bring your mom in to live with you, and then all the other stuff, right? Like, all my siblings are in California. And it's like, yeah, we'll pray for you. You know? That's all they do, right?
Yeah.
And-
Well, I was just gonna say, this isn't directly related with what you're describing, but I think it may fit. I don't know if this is gonna help. In dealing with the fraud stuff that we are, and calling, the bank that my in-laws have their stuff at, just to get a live person or to work through the system, there's so much our world has become dependent on technology that my in-laws, in dealing with, like, I don't know what it's called, but like they give you like 6 different options of which to call. And I'm like, as I listen through this, I've watched my in-laws handle it. They're overwhelmed and they quit. And they don't know what to do with it or how to get through. And I can see, well, that option that they gave, that might be our inroad. Let's try that. I get through it, and then we go to the next. And so I feel like I've been acting as an advocate for them, but I have some wherewithal and familiarity with these things to know how to get through the system. But the elderly population did not grow up with this stuff. And and then they're kind of compromised in their thinking, and so we're expecting them to be able to work through this stuff, and they can't get connected with the help that they need. And I just wonder if that's part of what's going on for you guys, because there's phone calls and people to depend on, and I don't know how all that's played out, but it just makes it's a tragedy, because I imagine there's people at home not getting the help that they need, and it's because of phone calls or not knowing what questions to ask, or not having the perseverance to deal with the process. I don't know who's helping with that, other than families that step in to do it, maybe case managers, I've been one. So I know that's partially why I know this, but it grieves me, it sickens me. And then the fraudsters, they tap right into that.
Yep, I've got a client now that's got these yaya boys out of Nigeria that have her thinking that she's married, that this general is in love with her,
Oh, dear.
and she's totally isolating the family,
What's so wrong?
and she's got dementia, and she's sending these gift cards and this money, and just another $2,500 out of the bank, and you know, meanwhile, dad is in an assisted living. We're trying to get dad settled, because then we're gonna have to do conservatorship and guardianship of mom, and that's gonna be hell. But these people are just, they're sickening. And they just literally sit at a coffee shop and take turns and just communicate with her all day long.
Do you have proof of that?
Yeah, yeah, and there's nothing the police could do. There's nothing that's done. It's all been, because they can't catch him.
Well, and she still is in control of her own money.
Some of the money.
So she spends whatever she wants, right? Yeah.
And that's part of the daughter's power of attorney. But that's some of the challenge, because how do you, it's hard to become the parent of your parent. It's hard to, even though you've got this power to actually step in and say, stop, no, this is done. Because mom can be very belligerent and mean.
We have the opposite. My mom thinks somebody's stealing from her, so she goes to the bank. She gets somebody to take her to the bank. I don't know who this person is, somebody in her building that she lives in, and closes her account. And my brother's like, I can't pay the bills. And my brother's in South Carolina, he's got the financial power of attorney, so we're going to the bank, and it's just all this back and forth. And yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's no one answer. I mean, there isn't. It's so individual. It's so, you know, family to family. Yeah, I would connect with Kelsey, but otherwise, I mean, there's Medicaid specialists. I mean, they do charge, but they can, because you're right, you're not gonna know that you didn't dot that I on that form, and this, you know, they'll just tell you it's rejected, and you have no idea why.
6 months later.
So that's, you know, something that these Medicaid specialists promise, is that they're gonna fill it out, you know what I mean, all that correctly. Before they even take your case, they're gonna know that they're gonna be able to get you to qualify. So that might be an investment that it's worth taking on.
Does that help, Tim?
Wow, frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating. All right, well, thank you very much.